Okay guys, so the good news is I just got the new AtGames Legends Ultimate Arcade Machine, and I was really excited to see how this thing works. But then I got a little nervous when I saw Retro Ralph's video on the Legends Gamer and how horrible it was and how he hated it, and he pretty much said there's no good games on it. And really there's a lot of similarities, but I thought, you know what? I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt and see what my reaction is to this new Legends Ultimate. Everything was great with it until I started to unpackage it. And the first thing that I noticed is the screws, and all of the hardware was everywhere. I mean, look at this photo here. As soon as I saw this, I was like, oh no. I don't know if you've put together any like IKEA furniture or something similar, but if you don't know which screws are which letter and so on, yeah, it can be really confusing and you end up spending a lot more time just trying to figure out which are the right screws. Next thing I noticed was a broken piece, and I thought, okay, don't get upset, no problem. Let's see if we can go ahead and put this together. Hopefully the broken piece isn't gonna make a huge difference. Then I saw a few dents on the chrome looking T-mold, and I thought, ooh, that's not good. No problem, don't get upset. It's just small imperfections, no big deal, right? Now they do a really nice and interesting job with these graphics on the side. At first when I saw the cylinder that had the graphics rolled up, I was like, are you kidding me? I'm gonna have to put these on? I was thinking, oh man. But then I realized later the little clear screws actually hold the graphics in place, which is a really cool idea. It makes it so you can interchange those maybe, which again is a really cool idea if you wanna customize this. Although downside is, it's not perfectly smooth. Now my wife actually hates how this thing looks. When she came in after I just put it together, she's like, that thing looks horrible. You're not keeping that, are you? That was like, and I mean, I guess I could understand that. A lot of people don't really like how these look, especially when you're comparing them to something like an Arcade 1-Up, which really looks nice. Mainly because they're just picking one game, not trying to cover like 12 different ones. But for me, I think it's fine for what it is. I can see they're definitely going for that retro, sort of 80s look to it. So then once I got it all together and I went to power it on, it did seem to flicker a little bit, which I thought was weird, but I finally got it to power on. And then I noticed the screen had light bleed issues on the left, on the right, on the bottom. I was like, oh. I just told myself, no problem. I'll just start it up, start playing some games. You won't even notice, right? So once I started going through the games, you know, to see what's on there, I'm like, okay, lots of old games I've never heard of. Looks like quite a few games that probably were some of the first games ever made. I mean, some of them do look like they were made before the Atari, but I guess there is a couple good games on here. So again, not a big deal. I mean, most people buy this to add games through USB or even using the HDMI port, right? So no problem. And I was thinking, you know, I'm really glad these ports are there because without them, I think this would be sort of a rough experience without those and sort of lacking in the games that I want to play. So I was like, okay, let's go ahead and plug those in and see how those games will play. So then I look down, wait a second, I don't see any ports, no HDMI ports, no USB ports. Then I start looking up online at photos and I'm like, there's not even a volume control on this thing. And then I was like, you've got to be kidding me. After doing a little research, I still couldn't figure out 100%. Is this thing supposed to have USB ports and HDMI? I mean, right here in the software, it says plug your game in, plug into HDMI. I was really getting confused. I was really starting to think they made a version with no ports. I even contacted P-Dub's Arcade Loft just to make sure I wasn't going crazy because he knows a lot about arcade gaming stuff, especially the AtGames brand. And yeah, he confirmed that it should be built in to the monitor itself, which totally makes sense. Apparently they just forgot to put that on mine. I just can't explain how it's missing. You'd think they would remember to include the main selling feature, you know, the main reason that I would even want this cabinet. But yeah, I don't know. But yeah, you'll definitely have to check out P-Dub's Arcade Loft. His channel includes a lot of details on arcade machines, and especially AtGames, Arcade 1-Up, pretty much anything arcade related. Now to tell you the truth, I was gonna let all the other stuff go, even though that light bleed on the screen really annoys me. But no HDMI ports, no USB ports, yeah, I don't think so. Okay, so at this point, I'm ready to explode, and I thought, you know what, in the past, everyone seems to get upset at AtGames. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt, and I'll contact customer service, you know, just to see what they say. Here's their response.
Thank you for reaching out to customer support. Could you please try to press the bezel and see if you can push it in?
Referring to the display that's got light bleed issues. Then I just realized how loose it is all the way around the edges, almost like they didn't use enough glue or something. And yeah, it didn't help at all. They also said,
could you please provide an image for our review so we can better understand the situation?
Now here they're talking about missing the HDMI ports and USB ports. So I sent them these photos here. And unfortunately, still haven't heard back from them. Oh, and then this last part you'll love. You know, I was asking them, I've got a broke piece, I'd like to get that replaced. And here's their response.
Yes, we do offer replacement parts. However, we are currently out of replacement parts at this time. Thus, we would suggest you contact Sam's Club and get an exchange with them directly, which is actually the most efficient method at this time.
So apparently they want me to return this to Sam's Club for a replacement, which you can't actually get because they're sold out everywhere. I guess my initial response was, one other question I have is if the Legends Ultimate arcade is considered a full-size cabinet, why is it when I sit it next to an Arcade 1-Up, the Arcade 1-Up control deck is actually higher and the screen is a little bit higher? So for me, it's actually more comfortable to play the Arcade 1-Up with a riser versus the so-called full-size AtGames version. Luckily, customer service did eventually contact me while I was still editing this video. Here was the response to the missing HDMI and USB ports.
The silver bar is actually attached to the bar top. You should find it underneath once you press in the downside of the bezel.
I was like, what are they talking about? So I went back to the machine and started pushing in the screen, hoping I wouldn't break it. And sure enough, there's the ports, right underneath the bezel. But no matter how many times you push and hold the screen, it keeps popping out, almost covering those ports and HDMI switch, pretty much every time. I gotta say, this has gotta be one of the worst build quality arcade machines I've seen yet. Now I'm not sure if I should keep this, because I was really leaning towards returning it. But I don't know, now that I've got the ports, maybe I can live with the light bleed issue and then just fix it later on down the road. I don't know, it's a tough one because you know if I return this, I'm probably not gonna find another one. One really cool feature is, if you have other AtGames consoles or the little HDMI sticks, you can just plug those right in and play those games right on this arcade. And yeah, I went ahead and plugged in my Legends Flashback, which has 100 games built in. Very similar games to this actually, except I got an SD card in that, and that allows me to play a lot of different games. I think later on I may have to do an update video once I've tried out everything else on this cabinet, because I feel like there's so many different ways to play games on here and I've definitely got a lot to learn on it yet. And I definitely want to try out the Steam games to see how smooth the process is. One downside I can see when it comes to bring your own game section is that they actually make you pay to play your own games on their system for $1 an hour, which I don't know, that seems a little bit strange to me. What do you guys think? Now I've bought 3 different Arcade 1-Up machines and I haven't had anything even close to the problems I'm having with this one. I just hope this doesn't happen to other people out there ordering these things, because I think a lot of my issues were from shipping and I just don't feel like AtGames packages quite as good as Arcade 1-Up. So if at all possible, I would definitely go to the store and get it, because if you're gonna have it shipped, yeah, good luck. But if you take away all the issues I've had, I gotta say this machine is pretty sweet, especially with all the ways that you can play games on here. The sticks and buttons feel really good, speakers are nice and loud, and the display itself seems like a good size. I feel like this is a really good addition to anyone's arcade room. So if you've made it this far into the video, you may want to say thanks by subscribing, and don't forget to give a thumbs up if this video was helpful. This is Brian from Fishbee Productions. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.